Question. Analyze the preamble as the identity card of the Constitution, explaining its objectives of justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Hello friends. Today we will analyze one of the most beautiful and important parts of the Indian Constitution, the preamble. It is often described as the identity card of the Constitution because it declares the source, the objectives, and the philosophy of the entire document. The preamble is the introductory statement that begins with the words, "We the people of India." It was adopted on the 26th of November 1949 and came into force on the 26th of January 1950. It is not just an ornamental preface. It is the key to understanding the spirit and soul of the Constitution. The Supreme Court has repeatedly held that the preamble is an integral part of the Constitution and helps in interpreting its provisions. Let us first understand the structure and objectives of the preamble. The preamble declares India to be a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. It then sets out four great objectives that the Constitution seeks to achieve. 1. Justice, social, economic, and political. 2. Liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. 3. Equality of status and of opportunity. 4. Fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. These objectives are not mere slogans. They form the guiding philosophy of the entire Constitution and act as a yardstick to measure the performance of the state. To understand the importance and legal status of the preamble, the Supreme Court has discussed it in several landmark cases. The first major discussion came in the Birubari opinion case in 1960. The President sought the opinion of the Supreme Court on whether the preamble is part of the Constitution. The court held that the preamble is not a part of the Constitution and has no substantive force of its own. It was only an introductory statement and could not be used to limit the amending power of Parliament. This view was later reconsidered and overruled in the famous Golaknath case in 1967. The court observed that the preamble is a key to open the mind of the makers of the Constitution and helps in interpreting ambiguous provisions. However, the real turning point came in the historic Kesavananda Bharati case in 1973. A 13-judge bench held that the preamble is an integral part of the Constitution. It reflects the basic features of the Constitution and can be used to determine whether a particular amendment violates the basic structure. The court clearly said that the preamble is not just a preface but a source of the substantive provisions of the Constitution. In the Minerva Mills case in 1980, the court again relied on the preamble and held that the balance between fundamental rights and directive principles is part of the basic structure, and any amendment that disturbs this balance is invalid. These cases show the chronological journey of the preamble, from being considered a mere introduction to being recognized as the identity card of the Constitution that contains its basic philosophy and features. The preamble has several important characteristics. It declares the source of the Constitution as "We, the people of India," establishing popular sovereignty. It embodies the ideals of the freedom struggle. It is the mirror of the Constitution and helps in resolving conflicts between different parts of the Constitution. Most importantly, it acts as guiding light for the judiciary while interpreting the Constitution. Friends, the preamble is not just a beautiful piece of writing. It is the soul and identity of the Indian Constitution. It promises justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. These four objectives together aim to create a welfare state where every citizen can live with dignity and equality. In conclusion, the preamble is truly identity card of the Constitution. Through landmark judgments from the Birubari opinion to Kesavananda Bharati and Minerva Mills, the Supreme Court has firmly established that the preamble is an essential part of the Constitution and reflects its basic structure. It continues to inspire and guide the interpretation of every provision of the Constitution. It reminds us that the ultimate goal of our Constitution is to secure justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity for all citizens. In this sense, the preamble is not only the beginning of the constitution, but also its living spirit that keeps it relevant and dynamic in every age. Jai Bharat.